You sound like Simmons from Red vs. Blue.
We don't know why we're here. It's still one of life's great mysteries.
Oh yeah, I kinda do. You sound a little bit like the fat kid from Mission Hill.
If you could crack the code, bingo, double 800s.
Oh yeah, I kinda do. Hello, and welcome to the Nintendo DS and 3DS Iceberg bonus pack. In this video, I'll be covering mistakes I made in the original video, as well as additional information and other things. If you haven't seen the original video, this one won't make as much sense to you, so I highly recommend watching that before watching this. Or you don't have to. I'm not really your mom or anything, you can do whatever you want, but just saying this won't really make that much sense. Anyway, without any more delays, let's just jump right into the rest of this video. McDonald's ECDP. Somehow I failed to mention the man behind the release of the ECDP, Nick Robinson, who was a man who won the auction in the first place and dumped the data to the Internet Archive. If you want to know more about this entry, Nick Robinson himself has a very in-depth video about it that I recommend you check out. I'll link it in the description. Most of the Pokemon games. Okay, this one I can't really believe that I missed, and a lot of you guys in the comments agreed with me, but when I said that the rest of the spin-offs weren't that interesting, I had completely forgotten about the Pokemon Ranger and the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, which are, you know, fucking incredible, and I loved them as a kid, and I still love them now. So yeah, I'm not really sure how I managed to forget to mention them, but yeah, you can definitely feel free to crucify me for this, because I still kick myself for not including them in that original video. Spot Pass. This is mostly laziness on my part, admittedly. All Spot Pass does is send info to your system when it's in sleep mode, assuming it has access to a stable internet connection. Minecraft DS. In my research, I failed to notice that, just like Super Mario Galaxy DS, there does exist fan efforts to bring Minecraft to actual Nintendo DS hardware via homebrew software. DS Craft is probably the most well-known among these, and every time I see stuff like this, I always think that it's really incredible that people are able to pull this off. Luigi in New Super Mario Bros. As it turns out, completing the game is not a prerequisite for playing Luigi. Straight from the get-go, you can just perform the button inputs necessary to play as him. Completing the game to play as Luigi is only necessary in the game's sequel, New Super Mario Bros. 2. Smash Wii U controller. In the original video, I bemoaned the fact that you had to pay for your application that turned your 3DS into a controller for Smash Wii U, but according to this commenter, there's probably a legitimate business reason for this. If you owned a copy of Smash or 3DS, you could just use it as a controller for free. But since both games were Nintendo's hot ticket sellers at the time, they probably wanted to ensure as many sales as possible. If you were unable to use a credit card, you'd have to resort to purchasing a prepaid eShop card, the lowest amount of which was $10. So you could either go through all those extra steps and still have $9 floating annoyingly in your account, or you could just shell out the extra couple dollars for the game in its entirety. I don't really know how true this is, but after reading this explanation, it kinda makes sense to me. I don't know if this was their intention, but yeah, I feel like this would kinda make sense for a giant corporation like Nintendo to do. Nitro System. So this grainy ass image I shared in the original video that I said was the Nitro System is not actually the Nitro System. This is just a weird development kit thing that Alpha Dream used to demonstrate early builds of Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, before there really was a solid dev kit to use. Rather, their actual Nitro System dev kit appears to be this blocky thing. Looks kind of interesting, right? Well, there's a lot of things that it can do. It can also like connect to a computer so you can display images from it on screen, and it allows, you know, debuggers easily debug their code in that way. I don't really know how it works. But what I can do is I can post a link to this in the description if you really want to know more. Mii's. It's not really a good look for me when I start off my video with a mistake, but as it turns out there is actually a game released in North America that uses Mii's, and that game is Personal Trainer Walking, an exercise tool assistance thing. Yeah, I know this is kind of obvious, I don't really know why I missed this, but moving on. That's all there really is for additions and corrections, but I kind of wanted to end this video with a little bit of, I guess, meta information about the last video. As many of you guys pointed out in the comments, a lot of the information in the upper tiers, especially the first two, were pretty glaringly obvious, and I probably didn't need to cover them. And you know what? You're right! Truthfully, while writing the script for that video, I debated on whether or not to remove entries I deemed too vanilla, but ultimately I concluded, well, I'm not the original author of this Iceberg, so I'll keep everything as is out of respect to the OP. The only thing I did cut out was a 7th tier, as the only entry there was the Nintendo DS and 3DS can see you. I didn't want to stick too closely to tired Iceberg video cliches, So it got the axe. If I ever decide to revisit some more obscure information about the Nintendo DS and 3DS, I'll be sure to find stuff that's more obscure and not known by the average Joe. One other piece of criticism I want to briefly touch on is my lack of really in-depth, deep dive, discussion into each topic on the Iceberg. And again, yes, that's something I would agree with you on. If I ever decide to make another Iceberg video, I'll definitely, do a better job on describing topics a little bit more in-depth and a little less surface level. And one final thing I want to say before I get to the closing statement of this video is I just want to thank you for watching the original Iceberg video, as well as this very brief follow-up. Every comment and criticism is greatly appreciated and will help me improve in future videos. If I ever decide to make more. And that's pretty much it. I mostly just talked about things I felt like the most pertinent to correct and to add. But yeah, I know this one was pretty short. I know it's not really that substantial compared to the original video, and you might have been expecting a little bit more after 3 months. But again, I just want to reiterate that I'm not doing this as a job, I'm not doing it as a career, I'm just kind of doing this for fun at the moment. So you're probably sitting there wondering, gee, I wonder what the spiked spaghetti will do next. I don't know.